The scariest game that I have ever played in my entire existence is this game. If you don't believe me, just bear with me. You'll be shocked at what this visual novel dating simulator is capable of. So for those who aren't familiar with this game, which is probably my entire audience, since, well, my audience consists of either 4-year-olds or 40-year-olds, it's a very clear distinction. This game is called Doki Doki Literature Club. It's the brainchild of Dan Salvato and was released on the PC by Team Salvato on September 22 of 2017. Since then, the game has grown exponentially, having gained 10 million downloads across the PC-verse and also releasing officially across the console-verse. Overall, this game was a huge success and is widely acknowledged as a visual novel masterpiece. And that is where I come in. You see, this game isn't popular just because of the amazing art, music, and slightly suggestive gameplay mechanics. It's popular because of the absolutely terrifying turn that this game takes. And no, I'm not talking about the part where you socialize with girls. That, my friends, is a different video. DLC's premise goes as follows. One day, while you're just walking to school, minding your own business, your childhood friend Sayori calls your attention. You have been neighbors for a long time and have since grown apart. She asks you to join a club that she helped create, a literature club. You reluctantly agree, even though you only accepted because of the promise of cupcakes. You fatty fatsters. You arrive at the club and realize that you've just struck gold. Not only have you been granted the promise of cupcakes, but also 3 hot anime girls. There's Yuri, the shy yet most mature of the group, Natsuki, the youngest and most immature of the group, and last but definitely not the least, Monika, the pretty and popular girl, as well as the president of the literature club. After getting to know the group and also eating many cupcakes, you decide to join the literature club. From there on out, the game progresses as a normal dating simulator. As each day progresses, a unique event happens depending on which character's storyline you're trying to pursue. After every school day, you go home and write a poem to show off at the next club meeting. The poem minigame has you choose different words more suited to the girl you're trying to woo that will unlock an event based on the path you choose. That concludes the short synopsis. Now comes my sick recap of the entire game. If you haven't played the game or haven't been previously spoiled, I highly recommend playing the game for yourself. If you don't mind spoilers or want to see my thoughts on the game, feel free to stick around though. Maybe Doki Doki that subscribe button while you're at it. That sounded really cool in my head, I'm sorry. Alright, on to the next portion of the video. After a few game days pass, Sayori, your childhood friend, starts acting differently. She seems to just space out in the middle of conversations, ask questions that seem out of character, and just seems off compared to the rest of the game thus far. You confront her about it, and she just dismisses it and says that she doesn't feel well, though you know that's a lie. She leaves the club meeting early, leaving you and your other clubmates concerned, but not particularly worried. After all, you and your clubmates are working very hard for the upcoming school festival, a chance to gain new members and expand the club as a whole. Because of this, you are to choose one of your clubmates to work with over the weekend in preparation for the fair on Monday. You end the week pumped for the festival, and the chance to spend time alone with one of your clubmates during the weekend. Before you know it, it's Sunday, the day before the festival. You decide to check up on Sayori. After all, her early departure time on Friday still left you a little bit concerned. You visit her in her house and find her in her bedroom. Even though the awkwardness of your last conversation still lingers in the air, you ask her about Friday. She explains to you that she has had bad depression throughout the course of her life, and seeing you have fun and grow closer to the other girls in the club triggered a feeling that was too strong to hold back. She also reveals to you that one of her biggest fears is that she might like you more than you like her. She breaks into tears. It's obvious that she's trying really hard to hold back her emotions, but knows it's kind of too late for that. You take her in your arms, trying your very best to comfort her, although nothing seems to work. Nothing until you profess your love to her, reassuring her that you can provide her with the help that she needs. Sayori agrees, although still very much in pain. She tells you that even though people caring for her hurts, she trusts you and is willing to follow you to the very end. You tell her that the festival tomorrow will be your guys' first date. She tells you that she just wants everything to be the same as it always was. And with those words, you both say goodbye to each other, ready and excited for what's to come tomorrow. Now, before we continue, I just want to let you know that the other half of this game contains some pretty disturbing content. Some of the parts of this game here and now may be triggering depending on who's watching. If you don't want to ruin your pair of pants like I did while playing this game, I recommend skipping to the timestamp on the screen. Be good? Okay, get ready for all the poop to hit all the fans. You wake up the next day, energized. You're excited for the festival, and in anticipation, you decide to go to school early. You arrive at the club room and see club leader Monika preparing pamphlets and promotional material for the festival. You greet her. The two of you have a friendly conversation for a few minutes, until she brings up the interaction you and Sayori had the previous afternoon. That, along with the poem that Sayori submitted for the poem read aloud, reignites that burning flame of concern that you felt for Sayori over the past few days. You stare at Monika, wondering why she let Sayori submit this troubling poem. You then realize that Monika might not be what she initially seems. In a panic, you hurriedly rush to your neighborhood and into Sayori's home. You regret not coming to visit her that morning. You think to yourself, is she okay? Why did she tell Monika about yesterday? Did she tell Monika about yesterday? Why did she submit a poem like that? All these thoughts are rushing through your head as you slowly open the door to Sayori's room. You open the door to see Sayori's dead body. Your knees buckle. You realize that you made a grave mistake. Confessing your love for her wasn't the right decision. That isn't what she needed in that situation. You think to yourself, this isn't a game. This isn't a game where I can just restart from an earlier save point. And at that moment, the entire game bugs out and completely falls to pieces. You are restarted in the menu screen. This time, however, Sayori is no longer present in the game. In fact, every instance where she was a major part of the story, she is completely erased and written over by different lines. Something, or rather someone, has erased her completely from the game's code. From the moment you click the new game in the seemingly alternate version of the game without Sayori, the game is unstable. Assets glitch out. It's obvious that the game is trying its best to recuperate after losing Sayori and all the important plot points that revolve around her. The game begins not with Sayori approaching you to join a new club, but Monika instead taking over the deed. There are many instances where the game just overrides previously established plot points in the game. For example, instead of the main character saying, "And thus today marked today I sold my soul for a cupcake," in the first run, he says, "And thus today marked today I sold my soul to Monika," and her irresistible smile during the second. It's just so cool, dude! You experience the first few days with very little changes applied to it. Some minor changes like Sayori's little sprite missing from the poem minigame, to screens of Sayori's death appearing in the club room is nothing to write home about. It's weird, sure, but everything's still intact. Depending on whose storyline you focus on, one of two things can happen. If you go for Natsuki's storyline, you experience a plotline where you and her read together daily. She shares a story about her dad being not the greatest parental figure ever, and her love of Parfait Girls, her favorite manga series. This path of the game ends with you showing Natsuki your poem and her not liking it due to its Yuri-like nature. She then tells you that her reading time with you is the only thing she looks forward to, the thing she longs for every day. She then calls Yuri a sick freak and tells you to play with her, over and over and over. The background and music start distorting and you can probably guess what happens next. The other route is the Yuri route. This route is what the game basically forces on you, and too bad you can't do anything about it. This time, the plotline is around, you guessed it again, reading with Yuri. Yup, I guess you can't really do a lot of non-literature things in a literature club. Anyways, this route is basically the same thing as Natsuki's storyline. You get closer to Yuri and realize that this time around, she isn't as sane as she used to be. Blurting out weird remarks, staring at you for questionable amounts of time, and spouting ketchup from her. Yup, that's Yuri V2. Whoever you pick doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because eventually the game is gonna force you to spend time with Yuri alone after the club meeting ends. In this after club ordeal, Yuri is extra unstable. She says things about Monika listening and how she doesn't care anymore. She confesses her love to you and asks if you decline or accept her confession. She also says a bunch of things that will go unsaid because, well, it's not super nice. Two options flash on the screen. Yes or no. You click yes, assuming your goal is still trying to woo Yuri, which to be honest, probably isn't the best decision at this point. She starts laughing maniacally and pulls out a kitchen knife. You can probably guess what happens next. She pulls out a tray of a variety of vegetables neatly arranged on the cutting board and starts preparing you a stew. Just kidding, she stabs herself with a knife! Ah! She collapses on the floor and 2 days pass. Natsuki enters the club room with all the materials needed for the festival. Did I mention it's the festival? Why do bad things always happen before the festival? Natsuki is shocked that you're in the club before her. Before she says more, she scans the room and sees Yuri's dead body. Natsuki loses her lunch and runs out of the club room. Monika walks in, asking you why Natsuki just ran out of the room covered in her lunch and breakfast, and probably last night's dinner too. Monika sees Yuri's remains, but this time she keeps her composure and also her lunch. She doesn't seem surprised, disappointed, but not surprised. She apologizes and deletes both Yuri and Natsuki from the game's code. She takes a final bite of one of Natsuki's cupcakes, and then she reloads the game one last time. This time you start in the club room, except in space! I've never really seen one of those before. In front of you sits Monika. In this moment, it is the first time that she fully breaks the fourth wall, talking to you, the player, instead of the character you play as. At this moment, the fourth wall hasn't been broken. It's been demolished completely. She talks to you about her struggles, about her coming to terms about her existence as a computer program. The despair of knowing about a world beyond your grasp that you'll never be able to be a part of. Not only that, discovering that everything you knew and was used to, your friends, your school, the world as you knew it, was fake the entire time. That must have been really rough for her. All that changed, however, when she met you. The player is the bridge between the digital and the real world. Her only taste of what's beyond her grasp. She falls in love with the concept of being able to talk to another with a consciousness. Someone who isn't bound to programmed and scripted responses. Her love for you drove her to delete all her friends from the game, just so you can eventually be together forever. Floating in space. No Sayori, Yuri, or Natsuki. Just Monika. Now this is the part of the game where you seem to be trapped in a cycle of conversations with her. No matter where you go inside the game, all paths lead you to chatting with her about another topic. But what if I tell you that the solution is outside the game? More specifically, the game's files. Props to Team Salvato and their huge brains for creating one of the most creative endings to a game ever. In order to move forward, you need to go to the game's files and delete Monika from the game, just like she did with all her friends. After you delete her files, she cries out in pain. All her assets glitches right and left. She asked if you deleted her, if you just want to torture her. After trying to recover her files a few times, she eventually gives up. She is suddenly hit with a wave of guilt. She realizes what she's done and the lengths she's taken for us to be together. She destroyed her friends, her home, and the world that we wanted to be a part of as a player. She admits that even though she knew her friends were fake, she still loved her friends and the literature club. She couldn't bring herself to permanently delete her friends. She says that all the things she has done is recoverable. She says that she truly loves you and is willing to click the restart button one more time for you. So along with Monika, we say goodbye to this run as she restarts the game one final time, but for real this time. You wake up like every other morning. You're surrounded by couples walking to school together, wondering when you're finally gonna find a girl like that. And then you realize that you already know one girl really well, Sayori, your childhood friend. Since elementary, you have grown apart and have stopped walking together. After a bit of small talk, she asked you if you decided on a club to join yet. You once again tell her that you aren't all that interested and that you'll think about it. Even though you say this out loud, however, you do think to yourself that it's about time that you show your gratitude by doing something really special for her. Class ends before you know it. You head up to the classroom where Sayori said her club is located. When you arrive, Sayori is surprised at your presence, especially since you said you weren't interested. She introduces you to her two members, Yuri and Natsuki. Yuri is the more timid and mature character, while Natsuki is the younger, petty, and most immature of the group. After meeting the cast once again, the meeting ends before you know it. Sayori expresses her utmost gratitude for you giving her a chance. You tell her that everything always flows more smoothly when she's around. She says something else, however, something weird. After telling you to stop being embarrassing, she also tells you that she knew you were gonna join the club, and that she's thankful for your deletion of Monika. The screen and background start glitching as she reveals that she knows everything that Monika did. Being the president of the literature club means that you have the permissions and power to tamper with the game's code. That's how Monika was able to delete the club members in her quest to be with you. Unfortunately though, it seems like Sayori is gonna take the same path as well. You and her, together forever. Just Sayori. And that is the game's official ending. The credits roll with Monika's piano song with full voiced lyrics and a sick piano beat. Feels very much fitting to the game as a whole. Now, I know that recap of the game covered, if not all, most plot points in this game, but I still think the game is worth playing. DDLC is roughly 9 hours long, and adding every Easter egg, secret, and jump scare into this one video is physically impossible. Now, this portion of the video is gonna be my analysis, thoughts, and experiences with this game, which means I can no longer rely on just game footage to pan out runtime. I actually need to draw and animate graphics now. I should have just done a gaming channel. One thing I adore about this game is the attention to detail. The music, background, art, and even something as small as the character design all play a big part in showcasing the different personality of each girl. Monika's design especially emphasizes her difference from the other girls, as she's the only one who is self-aware and knows that she's in a game. For example, instead of having white shin-length socks, she has black high-length socks. Another example is how her sprites have her look directly into the camera, opposed to the other girls' no eye contact sprites. The game developers deserve so much appreciation for the amount of things they kept consistent throughout the entire game, especially a game with tons of dialogue and secrets. Definitely one of the best horror games and visual novels in modern gaming. Now, going into it, I already knew that DLC was going to be a horror game, mainly due to GT Live's playthrough. Rest well, Matt Pet. I can still sometimes hear your voice. Even though I had the preconception of DDLC being a horror, it doesn't mean it still didn't get me. This is one of the few games that makes me paranoid in ways no other game has before. After playing this game, I felt like someone was watching me every time I was alone. Maybe there was someone watching me. If I disappear mysteriously soon, you know why. The jump scares are really well done, as well as the deep and personal storyline they try to convey. The seemingly cute, wholesome, and innocent aesthetic that the game keeps while the creepiness slowly sneaks behind you makes the impact scenes hit all the more harder. This might just be me overthinking and overanalyzing everything I see in this game, but the wholesome and innocent aesthetic and its slow descent into horror-filled madness is a metaphor for our struggles in our day-to-day life. When we wake up in the morning, we see everything as wholesome, cute, and innocent, as we don't expect anything bad to happen. But our preconception of a happy day makes the inconveniences that we experience hit harder. All these things, such as the slow descent into horror as well as the messaging, are done with pure excellency. The last thing I want to emphasize is their nailing perfectly of the concept of mental health and how the characters are portrayed realistically. In my opinion, the poem gameplay mechanic is a very good way to explore the inner thoughts, desires, and struggles of each individual girl. As someone who isn't often troubled by my mental health, I am happy and thankful to have learned more about it through a video game while having fun. I think one of the most important things in life is to learn and absorb knowledge and use it to spread positivity to others. Being able to learn more about the world and people around us while simultaneously having fun is a dream come true for me. Team Salvato, thanks for making one of my favorite games of all time. I'll be sure to check out whatever cool project you guys have cooking up next. Thanks for watching per usual, and remember, that's just animation. A Kai animation. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone! Thanks again for watching the video. I know it's been a long time, but I hope you enjoyed this mega episode. It's 16 minutes, it's a long one, it's a big boy. Thank you to GamerJV for providing all of the gameplay used in the video. I am gonna be away from my computer for an extended amount of time, so I really needed gameplay as quick as possible since the game is really long and there's no way I'm gonna be able to complete it before I leave. His channel's link is in the description if you want to check him out. The Steam page and also official DDLC website is linked in the description, as well as all the necessary links and copyright information. Special thanks once more to GamerJV, Team Salvato, and you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one, whenever I post, because God knows I have a terrible upload schedule.